This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Read my lips, we will not be raising taxes on...
Everything is going extremely well.
You couldn't hear that, could you?
Read my lips, we will not be raising taxes on income or VAT or national insurance.
Huge storms battered the UK this week in what seems like normal weather these days, and the metric by which we estimate how much rain has fallen in any one day is to compare it to multiples of rain that would have previously fallen in a month. We've had a month's worth of rain in just 24 hours. This country's going down. The Met Office issued an amber weather alert and said the atrocious conditions may put us in danger. Roads across the country were flooded this week following heavy rain, which we don't seem to be able to deal with anymore. I mean, it used to go down the drain, remember? In York, for instance, some streets were completely submerged after the River Ouse burst its banks, and that is the last time I want to say the words burst and ooze in the same sentence.
Disgusting.
There were scenes of cars lost in lakes that used to be roads, water cascading down steps like ornamental fountains, and whole areas cut off. But it's nothing to do with global warming, even though it is surprisingly warm for October, and it's November. Tonight, clear in parts of the south, patchy frost and fog, rain and strong winds in eastern Scotland land, and western Scotland, surely. Eastern Scotland, rain. Western Scotland too. Well, I'm checking you while you wait. One moment, please. Taking a very long time to come in. Aha! This is the weather forecast for Glasgow. Tonight, the forecast for right now, which is not really a forecast, but just a report, is it's not raining. Can you believe that?
No.
Tomorrow, not raining either. Wait a minute, I'll check on that. No, it's going to be raining tomorrow. Who are they kidding? And it's going to be raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday. And then, on Saturday the 26th, in Glasgow, it will be raining, and then raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday. Every single day for the rest of your lives. Oh, well, never mind. Tomorrow, affecting some eastern and northern areas, cloud and patchy rain. Southern and western areas, dry and bright, but clouding up later with heavy rain into Northern Ireland. And the outlook for Sunday to Tuesday, cold, unsettled, spells of strong winds and rain or showers. Northern hills will see snow. Snow?
Oh, no.
Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
OK, this is the weather for the last 2 weeks of November. At first, showers for most areas, followed by persistent rain. Showers or rain. Strong winds, followed by more showers and rain and risk of gales. If it's not raining a little bit, it will be raining a lot. And here's the forecast for the first 2 weeks of December. December! It's almost December. Can you believe it? It's practically Jesus' birthday. Becoming more settled at the start of December with drier and calmer weather. Becoming more settled at the start of December with drier and calmer weather? We'll take it. Some suspiciously keen texters and tweeters. Ahmed emails, I heard James O'Brien saying today that the Daily Mail printed a story on the awful plight of migrant workers in Qatar. Isn't it the same paper that doesn't even like to describe the migrants that come here as humans and demonise them as much as possible? The hypocrisy is off the scale, says Ahmed. Jerry says, I learned on TV... I appear to be being poisoned. But you know me, I never complain.
Stop whining.
Jerry emails, I learned on TV this evening that if you put drops of lavender oil on the soles of your feet before going to bed, you should have a fabulous night's sleep. I don't usually sleep very well, so I tried this. I fear a joke coming on.
Oh, no.
This is not a listener with material, is it? Hang on, I'll read ahead just in case. Right. No, it's not a listener with material, but then again, it's not that interesting either. So I appreciate it, Jerry, but not this time.
Thank you.
Anthony tweets, is this the end of Twitter? Well, I don't actually notice any difference on Twitter. Maybe I'm just not looking very hard, although I do tend to spend an inordinate amount of time on it, to the point that if it just collapsed tomorrow, would I rush to to get back up the internet on some other site? Or would I use the hours that I would ordinarily lose to Twitter on doing something more productive, like nothing, for instance? I could enjoy myself doing nothing, for instance. It would probably better for my headspace. But I haven't actually noticed any difference in Twitter, apart from a lot of people complaining about all the differences on Twitter. Apart from that, it looks the same to me. Anyway, Anthony tweets, is this the end of Twitter? Lots of my friends in tech are jumping off the ship. Is this my last tweet? Oh, well, there are bigger issues in life than the possible end of Twitter. That's right.
Correct.
I tried to do that megaphone or Mastodon, whatever it's called. And I'm pretty sure that I signed up, although it seemed to be a bit confusing. You had to pick a gang and then join that gang, and they might let you in depending on how they're feeling that day, and you're only talking about a certain topic that appealed to you when you signed up. I just don't understand it at all. I spent, 3-4 seconds looking at it, and I didn't master it within that time, so I gave up. But I'm pretty sure that I signed up. It's just that it doesn't recognize me anymore. Hello, it's me. Peter texts, I heard Steve Allen went out the other night in London. Did he invite you? If he didn't, how rude of him. He said he'd never do a podcast with you. Well, I think I probably said I would never do a podcast with him first. I think I probably got in my refusal ahead of time. No.
No.
And Colin says, Labour will win, the Conservative majority will shrink, but the Liberal coalition may bring EU. This is like a prediction from Colin. Well, wouldn't it be an immediate benefit to the nation if we rejoined the European Union?
Yes.
And that's what the vast majority of the people in this country now think. They realise that they've been hoodwinked by some nefarious types and ne'er-do-wells, and some are good people, I suppose.
I'm a nutcase.
And the game is up, really. I mean, we used to have an entire top-hatted swizzle stick whose job it was to come up with a benefit of leaving the European Union. And all he could come up with, bear in mind that this was his job, all he could think of was changing the signs, the exit signs in the Dartford Tunnel, from metres to yards. That was it. Was anything more?
I don't know anything.
No, that was it. So we've all gone through we haven't gone through the pain yet. The pain is yet to come, but we've all gone through that unblinking shop window dummy telling us how bad it's going to be. And it is instructive to remember how loose they are with your money. The government wasted £14 billion of taxpayers' money on badly managed projects and luxury items that would make an oligarch think twice before buying. The wastage included, but was not limited to, £4 billion spent on PPE, that is, personal protective equipment, of which £2.6 billion was unsuitable. £670 million was defective, and £750 million was surplus to requirements. That is £2.6 billion just thrown away. Some of which, coincidentally, ended up in the Tory friends and donors' pockets. By coincidence.
Oh, right, yeah.
A stack of 10... I'll put this into perspective. Too much bleeping perspective. Because you hear sums like 2.6 billion and you think, well, what's that? I mean, 2.6 is a relatively small number. Even if you put billion on the end of it, it doesn't really seem that much. Think of it in £10 notes. If you stacked £10 notes on top of each other, to make £1 billion, that stack would be 10 kilometres high. I'll just pause and let you think about that for a moment. I'm talking about £10 notes. To make £1 billion, that stack of £10 notes would be 10 kilometres high. But they didn't lose $1 billion. They lost 2.6 billion on masks and gowns, for crying out. Paper. To make a stack of 2.6 billion pounds in £10 notes, it would have to be 26 kilometres high, or 16 miles. And I don't mean end to end, I mean stacked flat on top of each other. 16 miles high, £10 notes. That's how much they lost. How is that even possible? I mean, they must have been really trying hard to lose that amount. But it's worse than that. Because not only did they buy all that hooky gear, but they had to store it. £436 million they spent to have huge piles of PPE in storage. £436 million. And 35 million quid they spent on destroying what they couldn't use. Well, the whole world's gone insane. And some investigative reporters did some digging on some of the things that this government have chucked your money at. So it's worse than the £2.6 billion on unsuitable protective equipment. They spent £98 million for an electronic tagging programme that was recalled. They spent £10,830 on food hampers from Fortnum and Mason.
What?
Yeah. £10,083 of your money they spent on food hampers from Fortnum and Mason. They spent £6,836 for a luxury party villa in Naples. You know, one of those business party meetings. They spent £6,091 for 2 visits to the Lunar theme park in Sydney. The Lunar theme park. They should have gone to somewhere nearer at hand.
Peppa Pig World. Peppa Pig World is it has
yes.
Peppa Pig
is the right answer. Nearer than Sydney. They spent £5,393 on storytelling training, which trains MPs to be able to tell stories to journalists. Liar! Exactly. And when quizzed about this, a government spokesmodel said the following. This government is committed to delivering the best value for money, cutting waste and inefficiency, and ensuring every pound of taxpayers' money is spent in the best possible way. That's those storytelling lessons coming in useful. A bodge.
I can't comment on that.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On LBC, call 0345 6060 973.
Some nobody.
Adrian emails, we're being plunged into dark, cold winter months, and now football is about to start with all the morons shouting it's coming home for the next month. No, it's not coming home. Why can't they leave us alone and leave the chase on TV instead of this painful ritual yet again? Well, it is a painful ritual, and it's one that we go through every time there is an international campaign for our national football teams, and we're always disappointed. And the one thing that can actually mute that disappointment,
Booze,
is apparently not available over there. Another excellent reason not to go. British families are facing a lost decade of pay growth as inflation is set to erode years of improving living standards. Were you aware that your living standards have been improving? Well, too late to get used to that, because now they're going to start unimproving. The government's Office for Budget Responsibility said price rises over the next couple of years will completely wipe out salary increases built up over the last 8. Wow. The 7% fall in living standards is going to be the biggest since records began, as in ever. 7%. Think of it like this. You throw open your door and you ask a stranger to come in and take 7% of your stuff. Are you happy?
No.
And it's all thanks to the party of fiscal responsibility.
This government will have integrity at every level.
Good one, Fishy. As businesses feel the squeeze, they will begin to axe jobs. Unemployment is expected to rise from its current level of not much to about 5% in the third quarter of 2024. That's going to put another 500,000 people out of work. And they still won't want to do the jobs that Eastern Europeans used to do before we yelled at them to get out of our country. So entire industries might collapse, like farming and food packaging and food preparation and restaurants and caterers. Basically food. But, who needs food when you've got sovereignty? We don't need to eat. We'll get our nourishment from the fresh air of freedom, and we will never surrender. Even if the vast majority of the country think that Brexit was a stupid idea, we can't undo the damage because trying to fix a problem is unpatriotic, apparently. There's an economist called Thomas Pugh of accountancy firm RSM. He said the Office for Budget Responsibility's forecasts paint a dire picture of the economic outlook over the next 2 years, with a year-long recession and a record-breaking fall in households' real incomes. And Paul Johnson, the director of the think tank, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, he said, the next 2 years look grim in terms of living standards. But as those are people are experts in possession of facts, no one was remotely interested in anything they had to say. Meanwhile, Liz Truss said,
we have never had it so good.
And Jeremy Hunt said that in the face of unprecedented global headwinds, families and pensioners and businesses and teachers and nurses and many others are worried about the future. Well, that sounds like everybody, don't it? Families, pensioners, businesses, teachers, nurses and many others. That's all of us. He said his efforts to boost the Treasury coffers would lead to a shallower downturn and were necessary to give the world confidence in our ability to pay our debts. But he knows that there's no chance we couldn't pay our debts because the Bank of England can literally print money to pay anything they like. And taxing us more at a time of rising costs and falling income seems to be, well, to the ignorant layman such as myself, it seems to be the last thing you'd want to do because it's going to stop us spending. And it's spending that we need to make growth happen, which is what the Tories say they're all about. It's almost as though you can't believe a single word they say on any given subject. Here's some other things the government has wasted our money on. £15 billion. Not only did they buy a lot of PPE that didn't work or didn't show up or wasn't suitable, they also spent £15 billion on PPE worth £2.5 billion. What excellent deal makers. It was worth £2.5 billion. They spent £15 billion on it, including £4 billion of unusable PPE. Let's do the maths with the stacking again. £4 billion is 40 kilometres high of £10 notes, stacked flat. 40 kilometres of £10 notes. That's what they spent on PPE that they couldn't use. That was literally waste. It was a complete waste of money. They might as well set fire to that cash. The Party of Fiscal Responsibility spent £16 billion on COVID loan fraud and error. Not lawns. Grass had nothing to do with it.
Want to score some pot?
Although maybe there has to be some explanation. 16 billion went to fraud and error. The COVID loans, when Mr. Integrity was in charge.
This government will have integrity at every level.
Yeah, that sounds believable. They spent, they just chewed through £30 billion on a few moments of Liz Truss's premiership. They spent money on the possibility of a bridge joining Scotland and Northern Ireland. Because Bodge is just obsessed with bridges. Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
£2 million was spent on looking at privatising Channel 4. Oh, there was the Brexit Festival. And paying Rwanda more than it would cost to put asylum seekers up at the Savoy Hotel. And hundreds of billions of pounds more, of course, on their very special Brexit. which we cannot look at again, even though the people have decided. They think it was a stupid idea, and they would quite like to have some political leader say that they're going to do something about it. But sadly, the Tories aren't remotely interested because of too much loss of face, and it seems to be part of their little scheme to impoverish the lot of us. And the Labour Party are petrified of even mentioning the B word because I've got no idea. Look at the polls, Keir. Maybe all that hair gel is seeping into his brain.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't. Greenford. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Nick.
Paul.
Yeah, I enjoyed your economic forecast. They seem to have made a hash of it, but who else is going to do Who else is going to do it? Labour ain't getting in, are they? Labour isn't coming to the fore. I know there's no general election yet, but will there be a general election soon? That kind of thing, you know.
I very much doubt we'll ever get a general election again. We are stuck with this lot. We seem to have been subject to a coup. Have you seen the list of things that are acceptable as photo ID for the next election? I mean, you've never seen anything like it in your life. If it is an ID card that comes with some sort of pensionable benefit, it's okay. If it's an ID card that is for students or anybody under the age of about 25, then definitely not. Your name is not on the list and you're not getting in. It couldn't be more blatant, but they don't care anymore because what are we going to do about it? Tom texts, in his autumn statement yesterday, Jeremy Hunt said, as Conservatives, we do not leave our debts to the next generation. I nearly fell out of my chair. It's crazy how the Tories think they've done nothing wrong. I don't believe that they do think that they've done nothing wrong. I think that they know what they've done. It's just that in this topsy-turvy, up is down and black is white world, they can just keep saying something that is not true, and it will, by extension, become true. If you just keep repeating the same thing over and over again, then people will assume that it is true. And the bigger the lie, the more likely people are to believe it. If you tell something isn't happening at the moment that it is happening in front of people's eyes, then it creates some sort of dissonance in the mind. People start being confused like that. And they think that, well, this person is, I know this person and this person is in a position of authority and they're telling me that what is up is actually down. So I suppose it must be true because they wouldn't be so bold as to lie to my face. Essentially, it's the Donald Trump approach to politics.
Don't be rude.
Just keep telling people what's not true is true, and they will believe you. You just keep saying it enough, then it will make it true. What a way to run a country, eh? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott.
Britain's Conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Alan texts, Donny is going to make America great and glorious again. He is going full gaga next time.
Don't talk to me that way. I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way.
Tom tweets, following the autumn statement, is there any truth in the rumour that your favourite sister station is changing its name to Brassic FM? And Steve says, leave Fishy alone. He's the best Prime Minister we've had this year. That actually might be true. God, how painful. Collier's Wood, Lily Rose.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Good. Do you know how many billionaires there are in London?
Can I guess?
Yeah, guess. I don't know, actually.
I don't know the
asking
precise
you know.
number. I'll guess billionaires. 300.
300?
I don't know.
Do you know it would only take 25 billionaires to donate 50 million to pay off our national debt?
Well, that wouldn't work, though. It's 50 billion.
The debt is 50 billion.
Well, this fiscal black hole that Jeremy Hunt keeps banging on about, this pretend fiscal black hole, that's 50 billion, but our debt is, I don't know, our national debt is something like 2 trillion, something like that.
2 trillion?
Yeah.
It's too much money. How have we got into so much debt? Why aren't the government...
It's too much money.
...into hedge funds? Why aren't the government putting our taxes into a hedge fund to make us money? We should be rich.
Right. Well, I'm not sure that a government could put money into a hedge fund to make us rich. What we should have done maybe is done what Norway did and not sell off our oil, keep the hot precious oil for ourselves and reap the benefit rather than make social the clean-up and private the profit.
Yes. Well, yes, they sold the gold. They sold the oil.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be next?
Well, we ain't got nothing left. They've sold the... It's true. We've sold our gas, our electricity, and our water. What kind of a stupid country sells its water?
Well, maybe you should run for Prime Minister.
I'll do it.
Do it. Go for it.
Okay.
Run for mayor first, and then I'll vote for you for Prime Minister.
Right. Well, I think that's a well-worn track.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And it's not one that it's not a person in whose shoes, in whose footsteps I'd like to follow. And particularly wearing his shoes.
Disgusting.
Can you imagine? Ugh. Thanks a lot, Lily Rose. There are 66 billionaires in London, according to Forbes, and 177 in the United Kingdom. 66 billionaires. No wonder you can't get a seat in a restaurant. They don't care how much it costs. Oldbury. Hello, Ranjit.
Hello, Nick. How you doing, mate?
Hi.
Okay?
Yep, super duper. Thanks for asking.
Good. I just want to say hello to somebody called Costa who phoned me up in the week and says he really enjoys your show. Yeah.
Hello.
And
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. You know, compulsive liars, yeah, like Boris Johnson. When he tells a lie, he's always got a contingency plan. You know, when he says, look at my lips, no tax rises. When someone like yourself...
I don't think there's any evidence that he has ever said that.
Read my lips, we will not be raising taxes on income or VAT or national insurance.
I think you can read his lips and trust what he is saying.
And you know what his answer is going to be? Since I was Prime Minister, there's been 2 other Prime Ministers, so I'm not liable.
Yeah, not his fault.
So it's not his fault. End of. Got away with it, yeah? Okay.
I think it was our fault for having voted in such an unstable party in the first place. It is probably our fault. I apologise.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
I didn't, but, you know.
No, nor did I.
Many did.
You know, at the end of a war, Nick, they leave booby traps like landmines and everything, right? Mm-hmm. The Chancellor has already done it now for the next Parliament. Yeah, when there's an election, he says, well, we're going to do this much in this Parliament, and then all the real rubbish, absolute stuff that's left over, he's going to leave for Labour to pick up. Yeah. So when Labour come in
about 10 seconds, the Tories will be blaming Labour for the state of the country. Look at the mess that this Labour government has caused in the 10 seconds they've been in power, they'll say. I bet you.
And yes, so they've already predicted that the next Parliament is going to be worse than this one. So what's the matter with Joe Public? Aren't they understanding something? Well, in my opinion, they're not. And you know, when you was talking about PPE equipment and all that. Yeah. Well, Nick, you know, if I say to you, Nick, you know, give me loads and loads of support so I become Prime Minister, right? When I become Prime Minister, then I'm going to get you some contracts, don't I? Yeah? Which is going to, you know, compensate of all the money or advertising you've done for me. Right. So all these people, right, they were buying PPE equipment through Spain and somebody made £28 million overnight. Yeah, and they're all interrelated with each other.
Are they
right?
interrelated?
Disgusting.
Whoa.
Oh, you know what I mean? Interconnected then or whatever. You know
that
what
sounds
I mean?
worse.
It does. But all these people, you know, the middle people, yeah?
No.
They were out, and you know, literally, this Tory government is recycling the money. You know, all the money we got back in grants earlier the year before last.
No.
We're having to pay back in taxes now or whatever. You know, these.
I didn't get no grant. Did you get a grant?
No, yeah, I had a grant.
How much?
Okay, not a lot.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Yeah. And you know these, all the money that you paid in taxes because we was closed for 9 weeks. I've got a massive tax bill now.
Yeah.
So all they're doing is just recycling the money, but making us.
Is it a bit like fishmongers recycling the oil?
Yeah.
Do you ever put that old oil in your car and see how it goes?
No, I haven't done that.
Okay.
No. It says on there, do not use.
Do not use on a car.
Warning.
Yeah.
And you know, another thing, if I can just mention, there was somebody on the radio. There's somebody on the radio on LBC, and she says for £300 she gets 1,200 miles on her car. Yeah.
For £300, she gets 1,200 miles.
300 miles on an electric car.
Oh, electric car.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Now, that means 400 miles for every £100. Yeah. I can get that on my diesel car. So why would I want to fork out so much money and then having to? And you know what she was saying? She was an expert. Oh, it's lovely parking up next to somebody, right, and sitting there for half an hour and talking about recharging your electric car.
Right.
You make loads of friends.
Well, you should have said right at the beginning that she was an expert, and then I wouldn't have been remotely interested in anything she had to say.
You know, these people, what does it take to join a think tank? Because I want to find out, because I want to join a think tank.
You have to agree to think in a tank. That's the only requirement.
Is Donny part of a think tank?
Is Donald Trump part of a think tank?
Yeah.
Yeah, I seriously doubt that he's ever thought in a tank or anywhere else for that matter.
Oh, shut up!
Thanks a lot, Ranjit. 0345 6060 973. Ricky tweets, "Hey, Ricky, you're so fine, you brought my money, Ricky." He says, "Do you think that Elon Musk and Liz Truss were separated at birth?" Well, I think they have a similar sense of when they're out of their depth, as in no clue at all. Is Twitter still there? A lot of people very upset on Twitter. Like I said at the beginning, I don't really know why. It looks the same to me. But yeah, I read stories about people getting fired, of course. I mean, I don't know. Is it possible that he's not a very nice man?
Yes.
Possible, yeah. Jack texts, "At this rate, the Tory 2019 pledges are starting to look more like a checklist. Should I get a bingo card printed?" Mayfair. Hello, James. James?
James here. Sorry. Yeah, so I was just listening in, and you said that the country has sold its water, its gas, its oil. But can you elaborate on that? Because I don't quite agree. I think the country sold everything to British companies. These companies will pay taxes in the UK.
You think we sold everything to British companies? Well, you think our electricity is owned by British companies?
Yes.
Name them.
It's British companies with British workers who then pay their taxes in the country.
Right. So they're not. None of them are French or German then.
Sorry. Yeah, but they pay taxes here, right? So in the end, employees pay taxes
wait
here.
a minute. They're either British companies or they're French and German companies. They can't be both. So which is it?
Yeah, but regardless of that, whatever they do in the UK is being paid in the UK. The employees are UK workers,
right.
And the taxes go
What
to
if
the
their
UK.
employees are French?
The employees are French who live in the UK.
No, you don't
But they pay their taxes in the UK.
Management doesn't have to be in the UK. Management and profits can be booked wherever the country has its headquarters, which is in France or Germany or Norway. I mean, we actually subsidise the people the nice people in Norway to have hot, delicious energy squirted up their homes.
Which companies do we have in the UK subsidising Norway?
You started this by saying, I can't really be bothered. You started this by saying that energy in this country is all owned by English companies. British,
no, I said
British,
that you said that we sold it, right? And what did we sell exactly?
Okay, well, James, honestly, I don't have either the time or the patience in a brief 3-hour show to go back through the privatisation of British Energy. Look it up on the internet. It's all available. Just ask Sid. He'll tell you. Jack texts, at this rate, I read that. Andrew says, I've heard nothing but gloom and doom all day on the radio. Is that why it's called Black Friday? Is it Black Friday today? Is it Black Friday today?
It is.
Is it? Oh. Oh, it looks like I missed out. Oh, well, never mind. Archie says, is this Musk at the top of his game? It can't get any worse for the fella. I'm sure that he doesn't really care. He booked a £56 billion payday.
What?
I think that's right. £56 billion, Elon Musk. He was just in court trying to defend it. I guess if you can, then good luck to you. How can you even want £56 billion? What are you going to do? After you got the first billion, what are you going to do with the other 55 that you couldn't do with one? Mystery. But, me not understanding that is one of the reasons that I will never become a billionaire. I asked Richard Branson this long time ago. After I was, it was his fault. He provided free alcohol at a party thrown by a previous place that I used to work at. And I sort of bent his ear asking him, why are you still doing this? And unfortunately, I was so drunk that I can't remember what his response would be. I could have made it. Just not paying attention. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
This is absolute tosh.
That nice guy from Mayfair that just called up asking for a crash course in us selling off our energy. I wondered during the break how long it would take me to find out the information that he required. And it was about 2 seconds. 2 seconds. In 2021 alone, £2.5 billion of energy bills paid by UK consumers went to foreign state-owned entities, which means that we are subsidising foreigners' cheaper electricity and gas prices. I mean, in France, they've restricted it to, 4%, 4% increase, something like that. We're paying for that. Because France isn't stupid enough to have sold off its electricity and its gas. 58% of UK offshore wind capacity is owned by private businesses, and only a third are headquartered in the UK. 60% of the UK energy supply comes from abroad. Norway, Qatar, Sweden, Netherlands, etc., and so on. Don't look with your mouth, look with your eyes. That is good advice. It used to be that you had to put on your hat, coat, scarf and gloves and go down to the end of the road and get the bus. And you'd never know whether the bus was actually coming because the timetable would be printed on this faded piece of paper that would be scrunched up at the bottom of the little glass case on the side of the bus stop. So it might come, or it might be that the last one has already gone for the day. You got no idea. So you'd stand there in the pouring rain waiting to go to the library to look stuff up like this. And you get to the library, and when you walk up to its door, you'd remember, it's Wednesday and it's shut. You'd have to go all the way back home and then take off your hat, coat, scarf and gloves and sit down there in a funk, just stare at the wall, furious. And then the next day, you'd have to put on your hat, coat, scarf and gloves and go down to the end of the road and wait for the bus and then go to the library and then look stuff like this up. But that was then. Now you can look it up in about 2 seconds flat on your phone. And people like that are still calling me up, wanting me to do their homework. I am stunned. Graham tweets, Mr. and Mrs. Sunak are apparently worth £700 million. Could you get an economist on the phone to see if it might work for Fishy to give everybody £1 million? If Mrs. S gave permission, of course, I think it would prove to be an electoral winner and they'd still have £640 million left. Well, I don't think that is statistically accurate. I mean, if they start with 700 million and they give everybody 60 million, then it wouldn't really go very far. If there's 60 million people and they all get £1, then that's 60 million quid. Now, they could either give us all £1 or they could give one lucky person £60 million. And they'd be left with 640 million quid. Or, as Fishy would say, it's none of our business. It's a smear. Yeah, right. Stains. Ew. Nick.
Nick?
An ecstasy of fumbling. There you are.
Hi. So I was going to talk
Hey,
about...
Nick, please speak directly into the phone.
Hello?
Is this you speaking directly into the phone?
Yes.
Are you holding it up the right way?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So about the electric vehicles in 2025, the government is planning, you may have heard, to bring in a road tax on electric vehicles.
Yeah, why not?
I think everyone should pay a bit of tax to be on the road.
Yeah.
But I think the whole benefit of having an electric car is you do not have to pay tax.
Yeah, well, not anymore.
I mean,
not anymore.
Yeah, but I think there's better ways that our government can go about it.
Right, well, let me ask you this, Nick. Does an electric car go on the road?
Yes.
Well, then why shouldn't you pay road tax?
Well, I think everyone, as I said, should pay a bit of tax if they're on the road.
Yeah.
I just think it should be judged by how often you use the road.
You mean other... Well, that is taxed as in the amount of petrol or diesel, or in this case, electricity, that the cars use to, get about the place. That's where the tax is levied. Except the tax on electricity is much less than petrol and gas, petrol and diesel, and they use less of it to go an equal amount of distance.
Yes.
What you mean is you want other people to pay tax, not you. And I agree with you completely.
No, what I'm saying is I think, as I've said many times already, everyone should pay a bit of tax.
Yeah.
I just think...
Other people should, more than you.
No, but I think that it's important that tax is fair and is equal.
Right. Fair and equal. Well, there's no such thing as either fair or equal when it comes to taxation. But what you mean is you want other people to pay more tax than you do.
I want everyone to pay a reasonable amount of tax.
Well, what does that mean? What's reasonable?
Well, judging by how much they use the road.
Yeah, well, I refer you to the answer I gave some moments ago. That taxation is determined on the amount of electricity or petrol you have to squirt up your car.
Yes, but so as well, the other problem I have with
another thing,
is you still have to source that energy, and if you don't have solar panels, it gets charged by our main power grid.
Right.
And a lot of that isn't actually renewable.
A lot of it's not renewable. No, well, that is true, yeah.
We do still have a lot of fossil fuels, so it's all the better to just buy a petrol car and call it quits.
To get a cab, is that what you just said? Get a cab and call it quits. Yeah, okay, good plan. Thanks a lot, Nick. Get yourself a new phone, because the one that you're using at the moment, it sounds like I'm receiving a dirty phone call.
Disgusting.
I don't know whether to hang up on you or call the police. That's excellent advice, by the way. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Is he crazy or is that just the way he acts?
How can you monetize Twitter? You can monetize Twitter? I had no idea. People are making money off Twitter? Damn it! Isabel texts, was the boy on the phone who didn't want electric cars taxed old enough to drive? Yeah, I did think that myself. Seemed a little bit concerned about that whole driving thing. Don't worry about it, mate. You've got at least another 10 years before you need to be concerned about that. Josie says, just for something different, a good day coming soon. As from the 1st of December, Classic FM start introducing Christmas songs. Bring it on! I tell you what, I love Classic FM. They really do come into their own at Christmas. It's so festive. Love it. Amelia tweets, is it time to leave Twitter and join Trump Truth Social? What do you say? Says Amelia. Well, let me think. I say... No. Even Donald Trump doesn't want to go on Donald Trump's Truth Social. There's no one there. Harrow. Jonathan. Harrow.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to make a point about the Twitter, but also about the Rishi Sunak. Mm-hmm. But the Twitter point can be quote-unquote controversial, so please let me make the Rishi point as well. But the Twitter thing, first of all.
Go on.
I'm not a right-winger, okay? And I'm not a prejudiced against anybody.
Is that the controversial part, or is it still coming? It's still coming, right?
The controversial part is Twitter is now so overrun by the wokies who chain what... It's true.
The wokies.
They chain whatever you can say.
Yeah. You're not talking about Wookiees. Wokies.
No, listen to me. What has happened now is that there's been almost a takeover by the, whatever. And again, I'm not a prejudiced or a sexist or nothing.
But.
Yes. However, it's just virtue signaling of the ultra-feminists and the men who are all going, oh, we're so virtuous. And, like I said, this country is the chocolate, the water, all of this is making the men very weak.
Wait a minute, hang on, whoa, back up. The water and the chocolate, did you say?
The chocolate, the sweeties, all of this, it's got chemicals in it.
So, wait a minute. So the water and the chocolate have chemicals in it that is enfeebling men in this country. Is that what you're saying?
That's point one.
Oh, wait, that's okay. We'll just park that there and accept it as established fact. Yes, it's the chocolate that's ruining your personal area.
Disgusting.
Go ahead.
I've been in trouble in the past in the work. In the jobs, the jobs I worked at, because I said things like, you go into office in this country and it's mainly just a lot of obese women's taking maternity leave again and again. And I'm not against the workers' rights. And Elon Musk is sort of coming in with American Dream. He bulldozed all of it. And I think workers deserve the right, but you also can't be a country where everybody is too lazy.
Right, well, which country is it that you're talking about where everyone is too lazy? This one?
Well, say again, I don't want to offend the British people. I respect... No, but that's why a lot of the immigrants have to come in, because here everybody just fat and on the computer doing the...
We're fatting on the computer. We're playing computer games in our fat laziness in this country. That's what you're saying. But you don't want to be controversial. But you're saying that British people are all fat and lazy.
No, but can I just say the Rishi Sunak point also quickly?
Now, hang on a minute. Okay. Can I just establish? Have we already gone through the controversial part, or is it still to come?
There's one more controversial.
One more controversial part, right? Gird yourself, people. Grip onto something firm. Go ahead.
No, because you can't speak freely on the Twitter before Elon Musk came in. You have to be so... This walkie-talkie has killed stand-up comedy. It has. It's killed stand-up comedy. You can get sacked. You can get sacked for saying that the ultra-feminists are suppressing the society.
Sacked for saying something as a stand-up comic?
No. You can get sacked for saying something wrong on the Twitter. the Twitter is monitored. It is like, deep state monitoring. And if you say one thing, it is true. People say I'm stupid for saying these things.
Who does?
But
who says you're stupid for saying these? I want the name of the people.
You're being sarcastic.
Who, me?
No, because I'm highly intelligent, actually.
Compared to...
No, listen, I'm highly intelligent, and I look at these things with a penetrative insight, and
Yes.
I think that society is... that Twitter is not representative of the society, because it is like...
Of course it's not. Why would you think that it would be? Twitter is only representative of the people that are on Twitter. And if you're seeing a lot of people who are sort of paralyzed by their wokeness, as you might put it, then stop looking at their tweets.
No, because because on Twitter you've either got the anonymous accounts of the far right, okay, or you've got the people with their own name who are being I respect all of this and that.
Jonathan, I'm on Twitter for about 36 hours a day, and I have never seen any of that. What are you talking about?
Can I make the Rishi Sunak point quickly?
Oh, we still haven't got to the Rishi Sunak point. Oh, okay then.
I've got nothing left. I've lost a job for a tweet. I've lost money and all of this. But despite all of that, I voted Conservative, and because I'm very emotional.
You're very emotional.
I saw Rishi Sunak celebrating the Diwali with Dominic Raab, who is alleged is a harsh boss.
Dominic Raab.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
Dominic Raab is a Tory, yes.
They allege that he's a very tough boss, unempathetic, throw tomatoes, allegedly. But in the Diwali celebrations...
He's a tomato thrower, yeah.
But in the Diwali celebrations, he was taking the selfie with the guests, and I felt so emotional. I thought, even though I've lost everything, I've got nothing left. Next time, I will vote the Rishi Sunak because he's made this country a multicultural success story.
Rishi Sunak has made this country a multicultural success story. Is that what you just said? Rishi Sunak. He's been in power for about 10 seconds. What are you talking about?
When I'm in London, I say to myself, Britain is a multicultural success story.
Right, well, if you say that out loud like that on the streets of London, then actually nobody would be remotely surprised. They might cross the street to avoid you, Jonathan, but I don't think it would cause shock or upset, because that seems just like another day in London. Thanks a lot, Jonathan, for whatever that was. Nicholas texts, give that guy his own show. Let's think about that. No. Jeff emails, Boris, Nick, mate, Boris, I sent PM knee more, it's a new government. I can't be bothered. I mean, the rest of it's just even worse. How can anybody spell that much? You know those red squiggly lines underneath the words that you write? That means that those words are wrong. They need to be corrected. Let's have a call in Beckton. Sam.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Sam.
Hi, how are you, Nick?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, you must love your job to be a host show on a Friday evening. Sometimes you get a very wonderful and colourful calls, I guess.
Yeah.
Booze.
I just wanted to say that I think in Britain we do have an identity crisis.
An identity crisis?
Yes, I think for the last probably a few decades now, it looks like the society is divided. Like if you think about Brexit, whether we are European or not, whether we are a capitalist society 100% or we are more of a socialist society. And that's
whether we are a capitalist or name me one country that is wholly capitalist.
I guess you're right. There are always some social elements to any of the services that you provided. But there is obviously a what shall I call it? There is always a degree of how capitalist you are, how socialist you are. I think what was a very, very unique thing about Britain, that because we have this dual identity, we have this ability to connect. we've lost that over the last few years.
I don't really know what you're talking about. Dual identity. People, they don't identify themselves as being British, as in that is indicative of one certain personality type. We're all just who we are.
Well, I'm trying to say that when we used to be, I'm not going to the Brexiteer and Brexit and European, but when we used to be, when we used to be part of the European Union, we were able to identify as European. We're able to benefit from being European.
Well, like financially, yes, but people didn't used to think of themselves any differently than they do now. The people used to think of themselves as English, Welsh, Scottish, Irish, Northern Irish, British. And that hasn't changed just from leaving the EU, because our lives haven't changed. Not sort of viscerally. It's not like a balloon that's exploded. It's more like a slowly deflating tire.
Yeah, I agree, but I think when you have able to connect with other people and other countries, being part of the European Union.
Yeah.
I know
we can still connect. I mean, you're talking like we've built a wall. we can still connect. We can still go on holiday there. We can still call up friends and speak to them on the internet, people who are living in other countries. We haven't walled ourselves off.
I'm sure that we can connect to anyone currently. Yeah, but
we're all citizens of the world, baby. I mean, I know what you're trying to say. I just don't really see it. We've changed the way we look at ourselves. I don't think so.
I think we have. I think we have lost.
Well, I know you keep saying that, but I don't.
We are not able to identify what we are. Sorry.
We're not able to identify what we are. The way people self-identify has not changed.
I think if you look at a lot of, for example, you take every single, let's go about the UK. Brexit vote was almost 50%. If you look at Scotland, leaving the UK was almost 50%. People are really have split. There's a huge dichotomy among people.
Well, it was always thus, and it seems to be more or less the same everywhere you go. I mean, America is the same. 50% of Americans wanted Joe Biden, and 50% Americans were dingalings. No offence, and it's the same here and there and everywhere, baby. But it doesn't prevent us from feeling British as well. I mean, the Leavers, they like to wave the flag about, but they didn't make them any more British than the people who wanted us to remain in the EU.
Yes, but what I'm trying to get to here is that in the past, this kind of people have different opinion about who they are and how they connect to their identity and how they connect to the world.
Right.
Was actually a strength point for the UK.
Yeah,
I think that's becoming less of a weakness, actually.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I mean, I understand the words that you're using. I just don't understand the concept that you're trying to put over. I don't think people in this country feel any different about themselves. They might be irate that their horizons have been limited, that they will be poorer, that their businesses that they run are finding it more difficult to trade with our biggest trading partner. People might feel as though they've been had, which we certainly have been, by a relatively few number of people whose desire to not pay the taxes that the EU would want them to have propelled them to lead us down this path of getting out of the European Union, which has obviously been a disaster for us and will continue to be for the rest of our lives. But I don't think that people think of themselves any different. I mean, after the EU, did people think, oh, well, I'm not European anymore? I doubt that people used to think that they were European. They thought they were British. And we happen to be near Europe. And they still think that. I don't think self-identity has got anything to do with the economy and with political movements of the kind that Brexit represents. I think, unless I'm completely wrong about this, but I just don't think that British people feel any different about themselves. We're still British, right? But anyway, good effort. Thanks, Sam. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC with Nick Abbott.
Yeah! Dude!
James text, did you see the story about Eton and Farage? Eton College has apologised after it was claimed girls visiting from a nearby state school were subject to misogynistic language and racial slurs. Here's the story. Eton College has apologised and sanctioned a number of pupils after allegations that a group of girls visiting from a nearby state school were subjected to misogynistic language, racial slurs and jeering. No! The boys' private school near Windsor told a news organisation that's not our own that an investigation took... Oh, they've investigated it. That's great.
Oh, fabulous.
This machine's very slow today. Like I hit it and an age seems to go by and then it just bursts into action. Like to the point that I think, it's not going to play, and then it does eventually. But you know me, I'm a trained professional and I'll work through it.
Stop whining.
A person who said they were a parent of one of the girls who attended the speech wrote on social media anonymously that the students were booed. The state students were booed inside the lecture theatre at Eton and were subject to racial slurs and generally misogynistic comments. They said of the private school pupils their behaviour was awful. Well, that doesn't sound like Eton students, does it?
Yes.
Actually, it does. Yeah, it's exactly what you would expect. Superior and entitled. I don't know whether it's the kind of people that go there or it's what happens to them when they go there. But they seem to all come out, more or less the same.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, the school charges more than £40,000 a year for boarders and counts Bodger Johnson and David Cameron among its alumni. So which is it then, Bodge? Is it the kind of person that goes there, or is it what happens to them when they go there?
I can't comment on that.
He's not commenting on that. And they went through a speech with Nigel Farage.
I'm a nutcase.
God, why would you want to do that? I mean, really. But, no great surprise there, eh? Lucy says, can we assume if the government has less money, they've got less money to pay for accommodation to Rwanda? No. And furthermore... No. There is an unlimited amount of money for that, Lucy. Whether it works or not is neither here nor there. It's all about, here comes that phrase again, virtue signalling. It's like cruelty signalling. That's what they're all about. And it works, big time. I mean, huge. Just look at any... I almost tweeted this week. God, it was so dispiriting. There was like a story just before the special fiscal episode when Jeremy Dangerous Name got up and told us how bad it was going to be. And there was a story about what he was going to say. And you look at the comment section underneath, and by far the most popular comments were, well, it's because of the people coming over here. If we just put a hole in all those dinghies and let them drown, then we'll be able to afford stuff. So, like I said, it works really well, and the Tories are going to keep on, which is, I imagine is absolutely the reason why Cruella Braverman is in that position, because that's her job. Firing up the base. Keep that hatred on a simmer. It doesn't have to be true or not. It just, it wins votes. Hatred wins votes. Works every time. County Durham. Hello, Sean.
Hello, mate. How are you doing?
I'm great, mate.
Tell me, do you agree with banning alcohol at football matches?
No.
No, it's been banned for 12 years in Scotland, right? And I think it's a fantastic idea. You've got to wait a mile to get into the loo, to the bog, at half time. And now by the time you get back to your seat, the half of the game's over.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think it should be banned, a total ban at football matches.
Right. But
because
see,
at the end of the day,
it gets dark. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter whether it's banned at football matches because people just get hammered before they get there.
£12 for a pint in Qatar,
yeah.
right? £12 for a pint. I can get 3 pence in a burger for that in where I live.
Right, well,
you know what I mean? But at the end of the day...
At the end of the day, it gets dark.
At the end of the day, mate, I tell you what it is. I think there's hardly any bother in Scotland now, even at Rangers Celtic matches.
There's
I think it's fantastic.
hardly any bother in Scotland now. I'm not sure that that's actually true. But
Yeah, is it? Mate.
Oh, well, I doubt it. But is it not true that if they do not sell alcohol at the grounds, then people are just going to arrive drunk?
Well, that's why you've got your stewards on the door. You've got stewards on the door checking your bags, checking your pockets, checking you know what I mean?
Right.
It's the same when you go to gigs, mate. They check your pockets. If you've got alcohol in your pocket, then put it in the bin.
Yeah, but there's alcohol available inside in a gig.
But wait, at the end of the day, gigs
Oh, my
are not...
God. If you say at the end of the day one more time, Sean, I will disappear you instantly.
No, but like I say...
Yes.
I think it should be banned, totally.
So you don't think that alcohol should be on sale anywhere?
In a football ground.
Well,
in a football ground.
What difference does that make? I mean, if it's not in a football ground, then surely it would be beneficial to ban it completely.
You can get it. You can get it at a rugby match. You can sit on your seat in a rugby match, and you can have a pint in a rugby match. The same with cricket. You can go and you sit, but there's no trouble.
Well, that's good advice there. If you're going to go to football, then go to a cricket or a rugby match first, in order to get stocked up.
Booze.
And then go to the football match. That's just good advice. Because at the end of the day, oh, never mind. Thanks a lot, Sean. 0345 6060 973. David texts, did you see your favourite astronomer, Brian Cox? What, that space hippie off the telly? Oh, look at the stars. They're amazing. That guy. Did you see he was refused entry to a hotel as his namesake was also there, and their system couldn't cope with two people with the same name? And the receptionist didn't know who either of them were. Yeah, Brian Cox, the actor. Yeah, I did see that. It seems bizarre to me. I mean, why couldn't one of them be checked in as Brian Cox and the other be checked in as B. Cox? Or just Mr. You didn't have to put the Brian part in. I mean, surely a computer can differentiate between two people with the same surname. Because if they can't, then that would be truly bizarre. Yes, very strange. They wouldn't let him check in because he had the same name. The space hippie had the same name as the billionaire pretender actor. I like the thing that they did, that Scottish thing, Broughty Ferry, with Brian Cox, the actor, not the space hippie, the other one. The guy with his extension. That was funny. Ramstein. Oh, no, hang on a minute. Can I take you in a minute? Roger?
You can indeed. But
Excellent news. A very cooperative caller. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's 11:30 on LB.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Right, so what are we doing?
Gibbon, we're doing a radio show, and on hold during the course of that break was a fella in Ramstein called Roger. Roger.
Only I'm currently not in Ramstein. I'm back in the UK, just in order to pick you up and listen to you and wonder if I should laugh or cry at some of the callers you've been having this evening.
I would make your first choice laughing, and then if that doesn't work, then you can cry later. How does that sound?
Okay, well, at the moment, I've kind of been swinging between the two, and this emotional shift is just too much.
I know.
Maybe it's something that's in the water.
It's doing my head in. I heard it was in the water and in the chocolate.
Yeah, well, there might be something in the water, but that's called phthalates. That's something completely different.
Phthalates,
maybe,
yeah. Phthalates, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's just at the end of the day, these people come out. I don't know.
At the end of the day, these people come
exactly,
out.
Yeah.
Ramstein, isn't that like a heavy metal band?
Rock and roll!
Ramstein,
that's
be.
Ramstein with 2 M's. So
right.
That's the band. Ramstein with 1 M is the place.
It's a
It's where the
place.
US Air Base is.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's why it sounds familiar. Right, so go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, well, I kind of occasionally listen to you when I'm on later shift, and I thought I got to say hello to Nick because I feel sorry for you in a way.
Don't feel sorry for me. I'm one of the luckiest people in the world.
Well, and there's another subject. What was that other caller going on about Britishness? What is Britishness? I think that's the question, really.
Well,
not whether there's more or less of
there's
it.
something like 66 million of us, there or thereabouts, and each individual person has their own idea of what Britishness is.
Exactly. It's a bit of Viking, a bit of French, a bit of Norman, a bit of Roman. I haven't forget. I'm human.
You've decided
I don't believe in nations anymore.
You've decided to self-identify as a human being.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, check. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. Qualifies.
I suppose so. But apart from the head part, if you didn't have 2 of the above, then you would still potentially be a human being.
Well, yeah, it's all a question of degree, I suppose.
If you didn't have a head, then you could be an ex-human being.
Exactly. I've ceased to be.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, I'm not that old yet. Still carrying on. Anyway.
Well, I think that's the end of our time together, Roger. It certainly was a sensation. And the next time you're in the country, don't fail to look me up. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Does any part of this show make sense yet?
No.
Andy says, we bought Johnsonism, we got Trussonomics, and now we're Sunaked. Well, that's just true. Roger says, the waste of government spending wouldn't add up to a sauce boat compared to the EU gravy train. Sauce and gravy spelt wrong. There's Roger, a person who has absolutely no idea what he's talking about, who is just lashing out wildly because that usually works for him. Roger, what you know about the European Union, you could write in the back of a stamp. Let's have Kilburn. Hello, Carl.
G'day, Nick. How are you? You
Good,
all right?
thanks, yes.
Look, I've been following a little way through the midterm elections and Trump's announcement that he wants to run for presidency again. It's had a little bit of a theory about that. Mm-hmm. Given that he's had these fraud charges against him and the documents that he stole from the White House after he left.
Yeah, didn't steal, he borrowed them, and just by thinking about them in his giant mind, he declassified them. That's just a fact.
That's just a fact. Exactly right, according to
him. According to him.
So I think he's trying to run again, if he does win, he can grant himself impunity.
Total immunity,
total immunity for all the charges that have been brought against him. Because from what I know from the news, he doesn't really seem to have that much support within the Republican Party.
But he has the support of a certain demographic.
I love the poorly educated.
And there's a lot of them, huge amounts.
But I mean, internally within the party itself, there doesn't seem to be a lot of appetite for him to lead them.
Well, that's often what happens when you take over an organisation in like a coup. At first, people will be supportive because their lives, their careers depend on it. But after a while, they may become disenchanted.
Yeah, well, I think it's about that time they did.
Yeah.
He hasn't really proven himself to be that effective, and he lost one election already, and
it was. I think you'll find it was stolen from him by the forces of evil who are working in the CIA and the FBI and the NSA and the AA and the RAC.
And probably Jeremy Corbyn as well.
Well, of course it was Jeremy Corbyn's fault. Thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. You see what you've done?
you mongrel. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, look, I just thought it was an interesting theory that he just wanted to make himself immune.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that theory out there. And
everything he has done is proper, 100% proper.
Everything that I've done is 100% proper. That's what I do, is I do things proper.
That's what he does. He does things proper. And don't suggest otherwise.
Don't be rude.
Don't be rude. Thanks a lot, Carl. Very, very weird phone. It had an echo on that phone like I was doing the show in the Alps. We want to get that scene to straight away. Or, of course, it could be somebody from the RAC or the AA or the FBI or the CIA listening in on our call.
Oh, no.
I bet somebody's listening to this. Ben emails, do you have your Christmas and New Year rota yet? Looking forward to the A to Z, says Ben. Why, yes, I do. Now, this year, the A to Z, like all of the years previously, when it's, I can't remember how many years I've done this now. It remains the best idea, in fact, the only idea I've ever had, but that would also make it the best idea. During Christmas period, there is, fingers crossed, no major news stories. It's, journalists go on holiday. Now, the world keeps turning and stories happen all the time. It's just that journalists aren't there to report them. So it's as though they don't happen. That's mostly what happens at Christmas. Nothing. And so I've invented Christmas. It's the A to Z of 2022, which will start, as it usually does, on Christmas Eve, on the 24th. And it goes all the way through to New Year's Eve, each letter getting its own hour, apart from right at the very end, where the difficult ones get all jammed into the same hour, X, Y, and Z. And it's my favourite shows of the year. They are a hoot and a half. So if you're around Christmas, between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, then tune in from 10 and we'll compile the definitive list of the year together. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Darlington. Dean. 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 I've got no idea. Do you? Not a clue. It seemed like somebody was there. Maybe they were being, I don't know. Maybe they were like trapped in a cardboard box, trying to get out. You know, like cats like to sit in boxes. Maybe he dialed and then left the phone on the table and decided to, while he was waiting to get connected, went and sat in a cardboard box and then found that he couldn't get out. That's the only explanation I can find. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Well, let's get back to it.
OK, why not? As a science experiment, let's try this one again. Darlington, see what we get. Hello, Dean.
Hello.
Dean.
Hello.
OK, you need to get yourself a better phone. There's been so much of that tonight. Terrible. 0345 6060 973. Has Elon Musk been interfering with this show? Bart Williams tweets, nothing is coming home because it already is home. The girls brought it home last summer. Yes, that is true, I suppose, for, a certain audience. But men, in general, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say something controversial.
Oh, no.
But it's not controversial at all. It's just true. Men, in general, aren't that interested in women's sports. We just aren't. There's only so many hours in the day and to watch football, for instance. There's only so many hours in the day to watch football. I mean, I watch Match of the Day, which is the Premier League. I'm not interested in the English Football League or League One or League Two or the National League or any of those other leagues, because that is, that almost by definition would be less interesting because it's less skillful. I mean, if you only got an hour in the day to watch football, then you might as well watch the best, yes? It's like, why are the Olympics so popular? It's because they are the top of the peak of physical perfection. And women's football isn't that, which is why I don't watch it, and most blokes don't watch it either. I'm not saying it shouldn't exist. I don't watch opera. I'm not saying it should be banned. I'm just not interested, that's all. Bob emails, fair play to the Tories. When they were elected 12 years ago, they started at the bottom and have worked night and day to work their way down. That's two uses of the work in the same sentence, which kind of doesn't really work, Bob, but good effort. Ellie texts, where is Bojo these days? Good question.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He's working hard for his constituents in Uxbridge. I mean, seriously, has anybody seen him lately? What is he doing for the money that we're giving him? I know that £87,000 a year plus £250,000 in expenses, that's just chicken feed to him. But really, you're supposed to be doing something for your money, Bodge. I bet he couldn't find his way to Uxbridge with a sat-nav. Beverly, Mike. All right, thanks.
Yeah, a couple of bits. Trump and Labour. Trump first. You haven't mentioned the fact that the Attorney General has appointed special counsel to investigate Trump over the Capitol assault and over the fact that he took all this kit down to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Confidential stuff.
Right.
And I think that's a really shrewd move because the House is going to flip to Republican in January, and they can persecute the Attorney General, but they can't attack the special counsel because he is only following orders. So all the Attorney General has to do is justify why he appointed one. And that's quite easy to do because all the evidence is there.
I don't expect that Donald Trump will pay for any of his crimes and misdemeanors. I think he'll get off scot-free. He just seems to be that kind of person. I mean, can you really picture him in jail?
In court. And that would be bad enough to stop him becoming president again.
Well, I wouldn't put money on him not becoming president again. I mean, his popularity seems to have waned, but just wait till people hear what his usurper is actually like, Ron DeSantis, who seems to be a religious fundamentalist, which might be okay for a minority of people in America, but the majority don't think that way.
No, well, when it comes to the primaries, the only way that Trump won't win the primaries is if the rest of the Republican Party put one candidate up, because the primaries are a bit like our stupid first-past-the-post system. If Trump gets 40%, DeSantis gets 30%, Pompeo gets 20%, and Pence gets 10%, Trump gets the primaries. So if they all backed off, except one, whoever that may be, DeSantis, Pence, or whatever, Trump could easily lose. But the way the system works for Trump at the minute, which he'll be well aware of. But anyway, just if I can quickly onto the Labour thing, I am horrified at the lack of debate training and PR training that the Labour Party appear to be doing.
Really?
Because we've had a succession of frontbench MPs and notable MPs go on media and they're asked a question. And once the first journalist asks it successfully, all the rest will follow. And they say, wouldn't rejoining the single market be a good idea?
Yeah.
And they huffle and fluffle and mess about. Whereas instead of saying, financially, yes, but the British people voted in 16 for sovereignty.
Yeah.
And we respect that vote. So joining the single market isn't an option. But what we'll do is realign all our trading with the EU. You look competent, you look confident, you look everything else. But a lot of them, one after another, have gone on.
Yeah.
Fluffling and bluffing.
They're petrified. Petrified of the B word because they think that it's the one thing that goes across party lines. You know, Conservative voters wanted Brexit in some number and Labour Party voters wanted Brexit in some number for kind of different reasons, but they both did. The fact that now the vast majority, way more than actually won that dodgy vote in the first place. The vast majority now of people in this country think that Brexit was a stupid idea, and at the very least that rejoining the single market would be smart. So why the Labour Party are missing that open goal, I don't know, other than it seems to be what they specialise in, missing open goals, like the England team.
Yeah, I guess that's so. Have you seen the latest YouGov poll? They emailed me back to say, hey, have you seen that you've made news? 56% are against leaving Europe. I think it's 34% think it's still the right thing and 12% don't know. It's absolutely clear on that fence. But what you have to do is debate the thing properly, appear confident. I mean, Reeves was brilliant on Thursday following Hunt. And I thought, what a great performance she put on, because she had no prior sight of what was coming. And she was brilliant. Then she went on Festive on the Thursday night and got caught by the same question of what about single market?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, it's a bit of training, not lying, not deceiving people or misleading.
Well, it wouldn't make the slightest bit of difference because they're just following orders. I mean, the position on Brexit and a single market, they're not making it up as they go along. They've been told what to say.
But they've been told the wrong thing to say.
Well, yeah, I agree entirely, yeah.
You can be confident and deal with the question. It's like when Stan was asked, can a woman have a penis? The answer is legally yes, biologically no. And then leave it back to Ferrari to come back with something.
Right.
But just do it snappily. And these questions, if you're into debate, it's so easy to predict what will come back. Why are they not trained and organised as to what to say?
I restate my case. They are trained what to say, and that is what they've been trained to say. They prevaricate and they try to answer a question that wasn't posed to them, and that way run down the clock so that they can eventually get out of the studio without, putting their foot in their mouths.
Well, what they're trying to be the Conservative Party, because that's exactly what they've done. Why don't they just get trained better on to tell the truth?
Right.
And if joining if it's better to join go back in the single market, say yes financially, but that isn't what the people have voted for, and that gets you out of the problem. Don't fluffle. Just tell the truth.
Telling the truth, though, comes at a great cost, though, because people in the press will paint, as soon as they say something positive about Brexit or rejoining the single market, then it'll be, the Ramonas they're trying to take your precious Brexit away from you, as though we will lose something if we reverse that decision. But there's enough people who still are clinging on desperately to avoid loss of face and loss of hope, that it can somehow be made into a positive, that it just seems so petrified, that the Labour Party are so disappointingly petrified of their own shadow that they just won't say anything concrete or positive about anything. And by that method, I think that I would not be surprised if they managed to fashion a loss in the next general election, because it seems to be this timidity that you're describing is just so disappointing. I mean, if you can't put a Rizzler paper between the policies that the Tories are making and what you can glean that Labour would do, then what's the point in voting for them? And people will just revert to type. The old will vote Conservative, and most of the people who go out to vote will be old. Therefore, we'll get you-know-who back again for another 5 glorious years. I can't stand it. Thanks, Mike. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Okie dokie.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. Furious football fans have started demanding refunds from World Cup bosses, saying handing the tournament to Qatar has ruined it, after a shock announcement that we've just been hearing about in the news. The announcement revealed that alcohol is banned from all stadiums.
What?
They'll be saying don't sell pork pies in the stadiums next. Yet in other news, no pork pies either. England fans already in Qatar have slammed FIFA as a disgrace for the unexpected beer ban only 48 hours before the World Cup kicks off. They're as sick as parrots. Only a few hundred England fans were in Doha when FIFA announced that alcohol would not be sold on stadium concourses after coming under pressure from the Qatari royal family. There is a certain element, though, who will be able to drink whenever they like and at the game itself. A certain type of person will still be able to do that. I'll come to that in a minute. The ban came as a shock to most fans after FIFA had previously reassured them that despite the country's strict alcohol laws, they would be able to purchase it while enjoying the games.
Booze.
And and most of the games involving our home side, you'd really need a lot of alcohol to enjoy it. I mean huge. But those rich enough to be sat in corporate boxes, where tickets cost $22,450 each, they'll be able to enjoy an array of alcoholic drinks. It's all about the money, honey.
Fabulous.
Qatar enforces an extremely strict interpretation of Islam which restricts women's rights and criminalises members of the LGBTQ plus community, as well as banning public displays of affection.
Disgusting.
And the public consumption of alcohol. Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? Subtle innuendos follow.
Rock and roll!
And that LGBTQ plus, by the way, I think if I was a plus, I'd be offended. Don't you? What, I don't get my own letter? What, I'm just a plus? You can't be bothered saying any more letters, so I'm just a plus to you? I mean, who says that you have to stop at Q? Why can't you just, what about the A's? And not only that A, but the other A. No, not that one, the other one. The other one. How come they don't get a mention? Plus. How offensive is that? Anyway, Budweiser is one of the sponsors for the tournament. It's been granted a monopoly to sell beer at the stadiums. It will now only be able to sell its alcohol-free version of the beer there.
Boring.
Alcohol-free beer? What's the point in that? England fans told Mail Online the tournament has been ruined. And FIFA should not have given in. They complained that they would not have spent thousands of pounds on tickets and flights if they had known about the ban beforehand. Because, it's not about the football. It's about getting hammered and then watching football. In other less important news, there were the deaths of more than 6,000 migrant workers who built the stadiums. But, let's keep things in perspective and concentrate on the beer.
Booze.
Qatar is typically a teetotal nation, but it isn't, though. Tourists can buy and consume alcohol inside licensed hotels or restaurants. And to be a tourist in Qatar, I would imagine you'd have to have a boatload of money. So if you're rich, there are rules for you. And if you're not, other rules. Exemptions for the World Cup would have meant that fans were able to buy beers in special fan zones or on stadium concourses, but Qatar seems to have reneged on that part of the deal, meaning that beer can now not be sold on stadium concourses and only sold inside the fan zones. Everything will be strictly controlled in the fan zone for your amusement and enjoyment. Pints will only be available at certain times, and each person will be limited to a maximum of 4 to stop them getting drunk. Plus, they'll cost £12 each. What? £12 a pint. I mean, that alone is going to stop them getting drunk. But those, of course, who can afford the £19,000 to hire an executive box will benefit from complimentary alcohol. Free to those that can afford it, very expensive to those that can't.
Correct.
But, it's about morals and religious belief. And if you're rich, they don't apply to you. But it seems like a cruel and unusual punishment for England fans. I mean, can you think of anything that needs to be seen through the haze of alcohol more than another international campaign from the England football team?
No.
I mean, I'm experiencing pain just thinking about it. And for those who will break the law over there, and they will, it's no big deal. I mean, really, the Qataris are nice people. You'll just get jailed for 6 months, or you might get a public lashing. And the England goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale, told a press conference, he said, I think fans will find some way of having a beer. I don't think you need to do it so much at the game. He says, hopefully, with them not being able to drink, we can perform on the pitch to give them that sort of excitement and buzz. Yeah, that's what the England team are going to give us. Excitement and buzz. They're known for it. Painful. I've decided to be disappointed now to save time later. 0345 6060 973. And on that subject, Kate texts, they think it's all sober. It is now. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
But I'll let that one go. Good one, Kate. Crystal Palace. Hello, Jay.
Hello. Yes. Hello.
Yes, Jay.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that Qatar thing is a deliberate ploy to put the spanners in the works at the last moment.
Who? What?
What? No, what I'm saying is the Qataris have thrown the spanners in the works.
Spanner in the works? Moment. In what way?
Well, by not allowing Budweiser to sell beer. So they'll probably get sued because Budweiser must have got container loads of, beer there.
Well, they spend a lot of money on being the official sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so they'll be sued. And I think look, two things. I can't watch football without having a couple of pints, or maybe 4.
Yeah.
Could be 10, yeah. It's just part of the culture.
Maybe if the England players had a couple of pints before they went out, it might improve their performance.
Well, whatever. But anyway, can I go back to Cruella?
Cruella Suella, yeah.
Okay, I think she's throwing this red meat at this Tories. But there'll be a time where she will run out of the stock because then...
She'll run out of evil. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Right.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that people always gravitate to the midpoint of politics. All these extremes on both sides never work. So I think she's doing this deliberately.
Yeah, and the reason that she's there is because she keeps throwing out these distraction bombs. My dream is to put some of the world's most desperate and damp people on a plane to who knows where. That's her dream. What a nice person. She isn't. But that's the reason that she's there. Home secretaries seem to be a certain type of person. And she is that type on steroids. And any time that the government is having a bit of a hard time, then she will go and, she'll crack down on this or that. It's just all performance. Not the kind of performance that I want to see over and over again. Like once is plenty for me, but, what can you do? Thanks a lot, Jay. 0345 6060 973. Keith texts, could we not have made our PPE masks out of £10 notes? Well, that certainly would have been cheaper, yeah. And Tom says the Tories are the reason that we're in this mess, yet they try to place the blame back onto us. Are they spiteful or deluded? Well, can they be both? Or is it neither or? Let's have Haverfordwest. Chris.
Good morning.
Where's Haverfordwest, Chris?
Beautiful Pembrokeshire in southwest Wales.
Oh, lovely.
I'm phoning to follow up from Mike's call just before the news, actually.
Yeah.
I very recently joined the Labour Party. First time I joined a political party.
Really?
Mainly inspired by the need to get a change of government. I'm just about to cancel my membership after a few weeks.
Of the Labour Party?
Of the Labour Party.
Right. Now, okay, why did you join and why are you cancelling?
Well, my main motivation to join was to push for an election, hopefully a change of government.
Right.
To get the Tories out, to be honest. Why am I leaving? Well, there's 4 distinct things. A couple of weeks ago in Private Eye, there's a story about Annalisa Dodds. who
well,
was...
Well, let's leave private eye to its own affairs and not repeat things that are in private eye. And remember how many times they have been taken to court. What else?
Well, yes,
what else
they haven't lost very often.
What else have you got?
One is a local issue where the Labour government here want to close a local hospital.
They want to close a local hospital?
Yeah.
Why do they want to do that?
They're talking about building a new one about 20 miles away.
Right.
But that would mean that from the furthest point, people would have a trip of about 40 miles.
Unless they live near it.
Unless they live near it, but a lot of them don't, of course.
Well, if it's 20 miles away, then beyond 10 miles, they would be nearer the new hospital than the old one.
No, because the nearest point from here, the furthest point from here is 20 plus miles. If they move it 20 miles further on the only route you can follow, that's a hell of a journey.
Unless you live near it.
Well, yeah, some people would live near it, but most wouldn't, to be honest.
What most wouldn't who don't.
Yeah, quite.
I mean, what you're saying makes no sense. I mean, if you've got two hospitals, they're 20 miles apart, then the people who live near the old hospital, they want the old one. But the people who live where the new one is, they would be more. It would be more convenient for them to go to the new one. So what you're saying is that you would have to travel. You would have to travel further.
It would mean everybody living in the county would have to move out of would have to travel out of the county.
It doesn't matter whether they have to go in or out of the county. It matters how far away they are. But anyway.
Absolutely right. But the other thing, the primary thing, was the interview, I think Mike referenced it, with, what's her name, the Shadow Chancellor, is it Rachel somebody?
Yeah.
And her comments then on rejoining the single market or the customs union.
Right.
And there was no suggestion there that they would even think about moving towards...
doing anything about it.
With the regulations and so on.
So that means those three or four things in conjunction made you spit the dummy and say, right, that's it, I'm leaving.
Absolutely.
Right. So where are you going then? Who will you now give your allegiance to?
Nobody special, because it will depend on the policies they come up with.
Right. You're a floating voter.
Yes, except I certainly wouldn't float towards the Tories.
Right.
Because that's from bitter experience.
And not to the Labour Party, the Lib Dems. Can I interest you in the Lib Dems?
It all depends who they put up and what his policies or her policies are.
Right. How about the Greenies?
Groovy.
The groovy Greenies. Any interest?
If there's a possibility of them getting the Tories out and it was a tactical voting issue, yeah.
Right. Well, they won't. Not the Greens, quite. And not the Lib Dems either. It's going to be the Labour Party or nothing. Select.
Or it could even be Plaid Cymru.
Well, I suppose so, yeah. Okay, all right. Well, there you go. Thanks a lot, Chris. He gave them. He gave the Labour Party 3-4 weeks. He's made a very strong decision. 0345 6060 973. Mirelle texts, "Oh God, you're not still winging on about Brexit. Change the record," says Mirelle. Well, Mirelle, I'll change the record when Brexit starts to work. When's that penciled in? It's like we're on a bus. And people who were on a bus had no idea how a bus works, but they thought, you know what, we've got 4 wheels on this bus. We don't need 4 wheels. We've thought about it, all the passengers on the bus, we've thought about it, and we're going to get rid of a wheel, because that just seems like the sensible thing to do. So we got rid of the wheel, and now the bus is, like one axle is like scraping along the ground. And some people on the bus said, well, might it be a good idea if we put the wheel back on? But they said, no. We people who have got no idea what a bus is, we've decided, and then we must now live with it. So we're just going to have to make 3 wheels work. And that's where we are. People furiously insisting that they made the right decision to take the wheel off, because otherwise too much loss of face. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. Richard tweets, why is there no public inquiry into former MP Liz Truss's disastrous tax cuts, which cost the Treasury an estimated £30 billion? Well, the reason that we aren't going to have an investigation into that is because Liz Truss did the right thing, about which she has been very clear.
I'm genuinely unclear.
Genuinely unclear. It don't make no never mind. All of these inquiries end with the same way. Lessons must be learned, and that's the end of it. What's the point? Phil emails, shouldn't there be over £18 billion in the Treasury from saving £350 million a week, which the bus told us we would save when we Brexited? Yeah, that three-wheel bus was not telling us the truth. Liar! Brentwood. Hello, Wilfred.
Oh, hello.
Wilfred.
Yes, what I was going to say was the reason why they got a good vote for Brexit in Brentwood was because we had a meeting in the town hall and we had members from all the parties, because as you know, not everybody from, different parties, they don't all agree with one thing, they all agree with different things. So we had 5 different parties in Brentwood, and then when we was doing the canvassing to leave Brexit, which we now know was the wrong thing, we could deliver 5 times many leaflets. So, do you think that was one of the reasons? Well, I think that was one of the reasons why, this area, why they got the, vote for the Brexit. And I'm wondering whether this happened in other counties as well, with other people voting.
You mean the different political parties got together and drew up their own pamphlet, which would be 5 times as much as an individual political party would have been able to come up with? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So we could say do 5 streets.
Yeah.
Whereas the other parties could only do one street.
Right.
So that just saying that was one of the reasons why this area, the Brentwood area, why they got a large vote, to leave.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know Brentwood. It sounds a delight, but I would imagine that there's a lot of people there that feel like they've been ignored, left behind, as though they can see there's a lot of money in the country, but none of it is touching them personally. So they thought, well, let's just shake it up a bit.
Yeah, it's basically the first town that you come to, or the first borough that you come to when you leave East London.
Right.
As in London Borough Haver, and then Brentwood is Essex.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just the point that I wanted to make. I wonder whether anybody else who's phoning in, you had a similar,
They pooled their resources, is what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
well, it sounds like a winning formula, and it was. Except for when you got what you voted for, then suddenly you weren't winning anymore. You're not winning anymore. Thanks a lot, Wilfred. 0345 6060 973. Stella texts, I have no problem paying extra tax and helping with whatever the government wants me to pay to help sort out the economy. All I want in return is got the government to held... I'll just read it as it's written. All I want in return is got the government to held responsible for the money they have misappropriate over the last 12 years. It started well, Stella, but it sort of fell apart at the end there. But I think I know what you mean. Sandra says they're still knocking the PPE out to us without our choice and taking it off our budget. Last month we had to pay the NHS back to work for them. They call it abatement. Well, I call it crazy. You've got to pay the NHS to work for them. What does that mean? James says, I'm on holiday in or on the Isle of Wight this week. On Wednesday, the roads were like rivers, but today we had glorious sunshine. We visited the wonderful Ventnor Botanic Gardens. If you haven't been, you really must go. Well, that sounds fabulous. I'll wait till spring. That sounds like the sensible option. Hove. Hello, Brian.
Oh, hello, Nick. What is going on tonight with your callers?
Very odd.
And the subjects
very
that are
odd.
all over the place.
Strange, yes.
And I can't sleep again. And I've been rearranging my knickknacks, which you suggested that I do last week. So that's what I've been doing.
Have you tried buffing them?
I've been hitting my head against the headboard because I just can't stand what people are saying. And honestly, you talk about people's telephones. What on earth is going on with mobile phones?
Terrible. I mean, really abysmal tonight. It's like there must be some sort of static interference from space because they have been... It sounds like you're talking to me on a landline.
I am talking to you on a landline. I've just had a new number put in, and I'm really pleased with it. But I'm not pleased with my broadband. You keep dropping out tonight.
My broadband.
It's terrible. I'm going to have to listen to you tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Because I can't concentrate on what's going on when you drop out every so often.
Well, here's a tip. You see, this show, the Friday and the Saturday night shows, they get stuck up the internet as a podcast. Now, if you have one of those stupid smart speakers, then the magic phrase is... open Global Player and play Nick Abbot The Whole Show podcast. Now, the podcast version of this show is where we take the news and the ads out. It takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity. And in no time at all, Brian, you'll have saved up enough to buy yourself a landline phone.
I know, it's really exciting. I love listening to your adverts anyway, so I like listening to the whole show and nothing but the whole show.
Right. Well, we appreciate your cooperation.
I was practicing your breathing techniques last week.
Yeah.
I breathed in on Tuesday and I didn't breathe out till Thursday, and it still didn't work.
Well, you get maximum points for good effort there, Brian, but maybe hold it for another couple of days.
Oh, and I'm having a cup of tea now and a slice of Christmas cake. I mean, what?
Christmas cake?
Yeah, I love a bit of Christmas cake. But
well, who doesn't? But not in November.
I'm not going to be able to sleep later on tonight?
Not in November. No.
Oh, no.
Christmas cake is just for Christmas, unlike dogs.
Oh, I've let myself down then, haven't I?
I think you have, yeah. But I want you to think about what you've done, Brian. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Glenn texts, on the subject of the 26-kilometre high stack of £10 notes that is just some of the cash the Tories have frittered away. 26-kilometre high stack of £10 notes. That's £2.6 billion, which this government seems to just chuck away like it's nothing at all. 26 kilometres high stack of £10 notes. That's not end-to-end, that's flat stacked. 26 kilometres high of £10 notes is 2.6 billion, and this government just chucks it away like it's nothing. Well, it's nothing to them. Anyway, Glenn says, I was wondering about our Fishy Sunak and his wealth. If Fishy stacked up all his tenors in a pile, in his luxury pad, generously decorated by his best mate, the pile would stack high enough to stop flights in the capital. Yeah, easily. It would interfere with satellites in space. Are you kidding? Oh, blimey, look at the time. 0345 6060 973. It really is. It's as though time is speeding up, don't you think? Doesn't it fly when you're out of your mind? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC, assuming that Twitter still exists. Does Twitter still exist? Is it still a thing?
Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, hello.
Well, that was an interesting poll. People say in vast numbers, 70% of those who expressed a preference say that nurses are quite right in going on strike. And then about half of those people said that what they're asking for by going on strike is too much. So that makes as much sense as anything else that I've heard this year. And, oh, by the way, no, it is not too much. 17% might seem like a large number, but keep in mind that nurses' pay has dropped by about 8% in the last 12 years, since the you-know-who party took over.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
It's gone down by 8%. So take 8 off the 17% that they're asking for now, and that's 9%. And 9% isn't even keeping up with inflation. So a 17% pay rise is not even getting them back where they should be if they hadn't suffered for 12 years of austerity. And if they're on £30,000, a 17% pay rise would make it £35,000. Are you seriously telling me that a nurse up to his or her elbows in ick and, isn't worth £35,000 a year? Then, well, I'm not interested in hearing from you. 0345 6060 973. Bodmin. Hello, Malcolm.
Oh, Nick, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks.
Nick, three things. Start with the funny one first. Trump in America, president number whatever he was, 45. Yeah, the Justice Department they've appointed a special counsel.
Yeah.
And he is, I think he's an American lawyer who went to practice war crime in The Hague.
Right.
He's been brought in to handle the investigation into Trump. Now, this is exactly the same thing has happened the first time he was impeached. Do you remember, what was his name? Comey was investigating, and then he handed over to the big man.
Right.
His name escapes me. So that's Trump. He's on live this evening later. He's going on whatever Fox News one suspects to protest at the fact that they've brought in a special investigator to investigate him.
Yeah.
Second thing,
he's going to be protesting, and if he ever gets holed up in court, then to absolutely every question, the answer will be,
I know nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything at all.
Well, yeah. Then the football. I think being an someone who likes football and played a little bit when younger, and knowing what football is all about, the culture and so on. If I was the fans and if I was a Budweiser, I'd be absolutely livid at this. And what the World Cup are thinking, my God, all the money that the fans, FIFA, Budweiser have invested in this.
Yeah.
And for Qatar simply to say, we're not going to have any booze in the ground now, unless you're corporate.
Rich.
If you're corporate, yes, unless you're rich or one of them.
Yeah.
And then finally, Nick, the thorny subject of Brexit. We've been talking about this a while. I keep saying this. And in the last week, Nick, I have become quietly convinced, and I'm just going to let it wash over me now, mate, because it's been 4.5 years of absolute nonsense. I have a sneaky feeling that Brexit is going to be reversed, and it will all be done by the politician, quietly but surely, because there's no other way of life other than life in the EU in some form or other, Nick, for the United Kingdom.
Let me tell you what I think is going to happen.
It's as simple as that. And it'll be done quietly, mate.
Well, yes, very, very quietly, such that you won't actually notice. They will never admit that this is what they're doing, but we will have to ally our regulatory system with the EU's, because otherwise you're just dumping a ton of red tape onto companies that are already suffering. So at the moment, we're about to bring in our own CE mark, UK, someone or other, I can't remember what they're calling it. But companies that used to have a CE mark on, and pretty much everything you've got around you that's made in Europe or sold in Europe will have a CE mark on it, which means that it's safe to use, essentially. And but that's not good enough for us. So the companies in this country are going to have to apply to get the UK safety mark. And if they want to export to Europe, of course, they're going to have to get the CE mark as well. So that they're doubling up the cost, doubling up the time. It's just stupid. It's just really, it's just so fantastically stupid.
I don't know anything.
And it's just so that they can say, oh, this is a benefit of Brexit. We can set our own rules. But of course we can't unless we only want to sell to ourselves. It's moronic is what it is. And that people still defend it It just blows my mind. It really does. So we're going to have to just accept what the EU rules are, but we won't have any say in what they are. We used to, but now we won't. Everything will be the opposite of what we were promised. We won't have sovereignty. We'll just be taking instruction from Europe, but have no say in what those instructions are. Because otherwise, this country is destined to just deflate like a slow-punctured balloon. It won't go pop. It won't be an explosion, but it'll just be, just letting out the air in a tyre. That's our future. Thanks, Malcolm. 0345 6060 973. Glenn takes on the subject of the 26-kilometre high stack of £10 notes that is just some of the cash the Tories have frittered away. I was wondering about our own fishy Sunak and his wealth. Oh, no, I've read that one already. I got halfway through and I realised I'd read it already. Jeremy says, or Jerry rather, it's been reported this week that Dominic Raab has referred himself to the independent investigation into complaints of bullying against him. Raab said he has every confidence his name will be cleared, firstly because he got away with sitting on a deck chair when he was Foreign Secretary during the fall of Kabul, and secondly, it's going to take some time for the investigating officer to muster up the courage to enter the same room as him.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
Yeah, I believe you. 0345 6060 973. Who's been waiting the longest? Let's see. Tralee, Karen.
Oh my gosh. Hello, Nick.
Karen.
Oh my gosh, this is such an honour.
Is it?
I normally live in Australia, so can you hear me okay?
Very clearly. Where are you?
Are you doing that thing where you go, can you hear me, can you hear me?
Oh, no. I can hear you, Karen. You're coming in very clear. Clear as a bell. Go ahead.
I love it. I love the big bongs. So do my sons, unfortunately. They're 20-year-old twins, and it's dodgy.
20-year-old twins.
Oh my gosh, this is my dream come true, honestly. So yeah, I'm up from Australia visiting my parents in Ireland right now, and I have been in Australia for 11 years as a citizen and stuff of Australia. So I've got 3 passports. I've got a British, an Irish, and an Australian passport.
Wow,
and
you have at least two. At least
you have
at least 2 escape routes. Excellent work.
Yes. So I'm loving my EU little sort of drop. I keep thinking of like Willy Wonka's factory, right? So you have your EU passport to just drop down via the Irish route, and oh my gosh.
And if you really, really need to get out of the area, then you've got your Australian escape route too. Well, you haven't been here in 11 years. What difference do you notice on your return?
Oh, you know what really shocked me? So we moved over in 2011, and in 2014, I came back and we were living in... so I moved all over. I lived in Manchester, I lived in North Wales, I lived in Devon and Cornwall. And in Cornwall, it was the first time I experienced food banks. And I was like, what the hell is a food bank? And that was the biggest shock to my system. I've never seen that anywhere I lived. And I grew up in London till I was 21. And I was like, I can't believe why food banks need to be a thing in a fully developed country like the UK or Great Britain and Northern Ireland is. And
What's amazing to me, how tin-eared Tory politicians are, because they will go to a food bank and take a selfie of themselves at a food bank and then tweet how marvellous it is to have food banks, rather missing the point that we've only got them because of 12 years of Conservative Party rule.
Yeah, exactly. So I was born in 1972, and it took me to 2014 to see a food bank. And we lived through all sorts of political upheavals, and I'd never seen anything like a food bank, and I was shocked.
But my original question... Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. My original question was, you've been away for 11 years, so when you came back, what difference did you note?
It's like, what the hell?
You're not really listening to me, are you, Karen?
Sorry, Nick, go.
When you came back, did you notice a difference since you'd gone?
Yes, hugely. Absolutely.
Go on.
Yeah. Just the drop in the living standards, that's the thing. So the difference in living standards is huge. And I'm surprised there's not a revolution going on in the UK streets or the British streets or whatever.
Well, if it was France, there would be, no doubt about that. People would be pulling up paving stones and chucking them at gendarmes.
Yeah, and we were in France in 2018, and they were having was it Jean Brazier, whatever, so they were having the yellow coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's always something going on.
They are. They're like their long lunch breaks. But
yeah. Well, who doesn't?
Still, they stand up for their own rights.
That's right. I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because when you're living in a place, you don't really notice the sort of diminution. Took a while to get there. The diminution of your standard of living is like a frog in boiling water. If you put it in cold water and heat it up slowly, it doesn't notice. And I don't think we've noticed, not really. But when you go away and then you come back after a while, then, it becomes much more apparent. All right, thanks a lot, Karen. 0345 6060 973. Tim texts, that Jezza Hunt needs to have a natter with the nice Harry No. Keith says, do think tanks also think outside of the box? No, Keith, only inside the box.
Correct.
That's the nature of a think tank. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On LBC, call 0345 6060 973.
Stephen texts, Richard Branson is famously quoted as saying that the fastest way to become a millionaire is to start with £1 billion and then set up an airline. Well, that's probably true. Southampton, hello, Kev.
Hello, Nick. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
I'd like to comment on two things, if I may. The firstly was around the Brexit debate. I'm sick and tired of media and people telling me that, or telling the people that voted for Brexit that we didn't know what we were voting for.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, what did you vote for?
We knew exactly what we were voting for.
What did you vote for?
It's the problem with the government not delivering it.
No,
the other day, and that was on both parties.
It isn't because there is no it. What did you vote for?
I voted to leave I voted to leave Europe.
Right. Okay.
I voted to leave the common market. I voted to take control of our own borders.
Right. We haven't done that. We haven't done any of that.
Exactly, because the government of the day, Conservative or Labour, not delivering. There's no backbone.
It's not Labour. Let's be absolutely clear about that. It's the Tory party that have been in power for the last 12 years.
Yeah, but hang on a minute. When the bills were going through Parliament, the parliamentary parties had to vote on it. Right or wrong?
Yeah, but
they done everything they could to block it. Done everything they could in their power to block it.
I don't know what is going on with phones tonight, but there must be some sort of like it's a sunspot or something like that. I'm only getting every other word, Kev. But the problem with people saying that I knew what I was voting for is that you didn't. Because Brexit could be an entire rainbow of different things. Each person probably had their own specific reason for voting for it. So there is no it there. It's just like a vast wish list of the things that you hoped for and have not been delivered because the people that told you to vote for Brexit were lying to you. So you didn't know what you were voting for. Because if you did, then this is what you were voting for. And no one's happy with this. I've got to move on, Kev, because there's just something seriously up with your phone. Let's go. Let's see if we can get a better reception from another country. Belgium. Emma. Emma.
Hello again. Hello there, can you hear me?
Hello there. Kind of. Not great.
Is it not great?
Not really, but go on.
Okay, so first of all, I was just going to reflect on that last comment that it was an indicative vote that we voted for, so it wasn't actually anything that anyone were obliged to follow. So there was no legal requirement for the government to follow it. But anyway, that wasn't the point I was going to make. But,
technically, but nobody.
Technically,
yeah, but that's not how it was presented to us, and nobody believed that.
But more for fun, I thought it was just made me think, listening to some previous callers, to let you know. So we have a couple of supposedly British shops in Brussels where we can go and get Marmite and, just feel comforted with home. And over the last sort of 12 months, every product has been replaced by, so Walker's Crisps have been replaced by Tato's, as in an Irish brand. So everything now is Irish. Everything we buy is Irish. Because it's easier. We can't get the English equivalent, and so we now we joke about it. All the people working there are actually English themselves or Scottish. So everything we buy now is coming from Ireland. So I'm assuming there must be lots of companies who used to supply. It must be completely screwed. I don't know how it quite works, but.
Well, it's not working at all, is how it's working.
No, exactly. So
So what's the Irish for Bovril then?
Well, I'm not quite sure.
Right.
It's for some Gaelic temperate, but just a good example of that is. So the co-op, we used to get stuff from the co-op in Waitrose, so I was always quite pleased with getting my stuff from Waitrose. But now we have everything coming from everyone in Ireland, anyone in Ireland listening. Well, it's called Super Value, which is their equivalent, I suppose, of the co-op. So all our stuff now is Super Value, crisps or cans of pop, whatever. It's all Super Value. It's all the same stuff.
And it's called Super Valley.
Super Value. So super
value.
All
super
one word.
Right. Okay. Well, it does have the word super in it, so it's got my vote.
Well,
I mean, how could it not be? If they call it super, how could it not be super?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's all these Irish people rubbing their hands. That's the reality. Ireland, of all countries, have just absolutely rubbing their hands.
Well, yeah, they're doing fantastically well because they can still trade with the EU, as can Northern Ireland, which is why that's the only part of the UK that's actually doing well.
So when we keep hearing from the DUP going, it's really we've had it's complete bunkum because they're absolutely having a roaring trade. So, that's just the reality.
OK, thanks for a shot of reality there, Emma. Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. Let's see if I can squeeze one more in. Who's been waiting the longest? Be totally fair about this. Uxbridge. Hello, Harry.
Oh, hi.
Harry, have you seen Boris Johnson lately?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I bet the answer is no.
Certainly not, sir.
No.
Certainly not. Thank you very much for allowing me to come to your show. I generally go to sleep by 10, but
Me too.
Weekends, I always keep awake till you finish your show,
Right.
sir.
Well, thanks, Harry.
Only question I wanted to ask or propose, actually 2 points. One is, what's wrong with our politicians? Most of them seem to agree that Brexit is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And we should go back. And still openly,
they won't do it.
Keep saying we will not join.
Right.
I don't understand that. Are they coming from a different planet to mine?
I don't know. I mean, something of the order of 57%, getting on for 60% of the people in this country say that it was a bad decision, which by consequence means that they think that we should reverse that decision.
Absolutely.
What is a politician actually waiting for? Are they waiting for 100% of the people to express that opinion?
No, I have an idea. There are two possible reasons. One is that they're really scared of those multi-billionaires who made money out of Brexit and promptly moved their offices to Europe.
Right, yes.
And
or Singapore, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And the second point is, sorry, my wife is laughing at your comment. And the second point possibly is that they are so scared to losing their seat. I mean, I have no idea why.
Well,
one more point, if I may make.
Well, you'll have to be hurried.
Yeah, very quickly. Very quickly. There was this professor on another program today who was saying, and I'm 100% sure that this is what he meant, was that any business who cannot pay high economy wages to the workers should not exist.
Well, that's pretty much all of them. Yeah, here, Harry, I've got to go, but thanks for that. Now, if you missed any of today's show, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player, where you can find all of LBC's shows to catch up on, as well as the world's biggest podcasts. You can get Global Player for free, as in costs nothing, from your app store, or head to globalplayer.com. I'm going to be back tonight. Coming up at 4 o'clock, Richard Spur, but right now, Clive Ball. 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 But right now.